process sorted. We have not seen that happening. Somebody's asking if school will be here tomorrow. The union can't declare whether school is going to be there. There's a circular that says school opens at a certain time and school closes at a certain time. What I need to say is that in many schools, teachers will not be there. That's what we're getting from our teachers. We've asked them not to be at work, and a lot of them have responded. So it is the parents who will now have to monitor from school to school what is happening. Teachers must be compensated better for the important work they do. And yes, we agree. And their hard work in getting qualified. It takes a lot of years for somebody to achieve certain qualification. And you are absolutely correct, right? You're absolutely correct. Ms. Barker, we can't declare whether there is any school. I would not be saying to any parent or anyone whether there is school. That is left to the parents. You've been listening what's going on in social media. The union has made its position very clear that from the 5th, we've given enough notice, and from the 5th, we will be withholding our services until there is a consensus as to how we go forward with the collective bargaining agreement. Somebody said, you guys have to start from some incomplete compensation needed for the extra work. Yes. So I'm saying, as the president of the teachers union, that we have given enough notice, we have given enough time, we have been extremely patient as a union, and we have tried to work with representatives of the government to ensure that at some point in time there is this sit down, and favorably, when we had that sit down last year, I think it was around July, August, somewhere around there, that we started to talk with the ministry. There were 2 meetings or 3 meetings. Surprisingly, the proposal was not familiar. We went through, we exercised that patience and said, look, let's give the government side an opportunity to go through the proposal. But those talks fell through. I mean, nothing came out of those discussions, right? Nothing came out of those discussions. So again, the issue at hand is the absence of collective bargaining. We are not disputing what the ministry is doing to help the professional life of teachers. But when a teacher goes to the marketplace, the professional life is just one aspect of the profession. What about the financial aspect? And teachers are crying out. Their salary is so low, right? The remuneration for the work we do is not really encouraging, and many persons would want to see the union negotiate. And that is what we're calling on the administration, to have the union sit at the table with them and let us eke out a percentage going back to 2019, whereby we can say to our members, here is a complete agreement between us and the government, and we can now proceed with the business as usual. Teachers are ready and willing to work. The union is ready and willing to sit. However, we want to have meaningful discussion. The discussion has to be meaningful, right? We're not going to have another talk that will fail. Somebody said, total agree. Last time, we quit. Read what the person is saying. Last time means me quit. Once we start, we going all the way. No fake promises. Everything must be black and white and legit. Yes. Cinder, yes. Everything has got to be legit. We will not, we will not allow ourselves to be something like that. We will ensure that there is an inked agreement or a commitment on the part of government to include union, include the GTU in the discussion, right? To ensure that when we sit, that we are meaningfully engaging one another, right? We are meaningfully looking at the welfare of our teachers, and that we are saying to each other, and to we are saying that the process must be a collective process. And that is very clear. We are not prepared to sit and accept any more imposition. So we are not sitting to accept any imposition. We are calling on the government side, I should say. I don't know who's responsible for that aspect of the negotiation of finances, but we are calling on the government side to honor their obligation to the teachers of this nation. Teachers' profession give them birth to all the professions, so they should be adequately compensated and highly respected. Excellent. They need to increase the allowance for postgrad qualification too. It is a step higher than the degree and a step closer to the master's. We pay more for the program, so the reward should be more. Yes, Chandel, that is important. Keep up the pressure. So here's someone say, keep up the pressure. Enough is enough. We are retiring, and some of us cannot live off our pension. We have to go back into the workforce. When you retire, why we want people to go back in the workforce? Um, Trained teachers with an associate degree in education isn't being compensated for such qualification in terms of allowance. It seems as though it doesn't matter. Cost of living is so high. And the person goes on, Mark, yes, we hear you. And that's why we have to say to the government that they got to do better. All right. Somebody saying the minister cannot fire all the teachers who exercise their legitimate right to strike for better remuneration. The replacements can't be done easily, as it's in the case of a cane cutter, police, and soldier. Well, a good point, because teachers put in a lot of years to get where they are. And in many instances, teachers are subject specialists. They are the professionals in that area. So it's not easy to replace a single teacher. It's not easy to replace a teacher who is trained in his or her craft. You know, it's like the plane cannot fly unless the pilot is in the cockpit. Class cannot be taught unless the teacher is present. So that's what it is. And we got to understand our importance as educators. Yes, yes, yes. Playtime over is business. It's business now. Slippers on the ground. Let them get it clear. This is not political. We are teachers of Guyana deserving better. All the teachers. We cannot politics or the long list of stories or shops or pay our bills, okay? And jerky. Teachers need better salaries to look after their health. Now that is important. A lot of teachers, we've been saying also that maybe in the next proposal we will include the need for us to have the employer insure the teachers, right? Ensure us in a whole plan, so that if teachers get sick, we know a lot of teachers are getting sick and they're unable to pay their medical bills because the salary is just allowing them to live from month to month, and therefore there's hardly any savings that they can put up for the times when they get sick. And simple surgeries are hundreds of thousands of dollars, and so many of them, they keep their chronic illnesses to themselves because they can't afford they can't afford to they can't afford to pay their medical bills. So there needs to be a medical plan for our members. And that is something we will include in the next proposal. Once this one is signed off and honored, we will then start the negotiations for the next. But we can't go to the next multi-year proposal unless this one is signed off. And that is why we are out here. That's why we are here tonight saying this is not a personal issue. This is not a political issue. This is not a racial matter. This is not a religious matter. This is a matter that I term as bread and butter. Because when you go to the market, the supermarket, or wherever, you have to spend a lot of money. I just came from the supermarket. My wife and I went out to buy a few things. We picked up a few beverages, and these are normal orange juice and other things that you will pick up. We picked up some other things to 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 have our own supplements, and this was just picking up a few things. Two plastic bags, and it was already 20,000. So I'm saying that how can a teacher feed his or her family? And I don't have any minors. My kids are all grown. It's just myself and my wife we have to maintain. But ensuring that we have a livable wage, right? How do you pay your bills and eat at the same time? How do we do that? It's very difficult, right? It's very difficult. It's very difficult. So we have to find a way to get our members. Somebody saying 160 a pound for potatoes, 700 a pound for butter, 1,200 a pound for cheese, 1,700 for a tray of eggs. Bread is 400. Taxi fare gone up $70 a transaction at the ATM. And listening to these, just a few, right? A few things they are highlighting that has gone up. Some of the major things. And if you are a teacher and you have to depend on your salary, I know a lot of teachers got stalls in the market. I know teachers that are walking and selling local juice and pastries to make ends meet because you can't be embarrassed. And when a teacher takes the business to the school, the classroom, and sell the little plantain chips, the little mitai, and the sugar cake, and the puri and curry, we hear a lot. But we don't know why people have to subject themselves to that because their bills are high, their salary is low, and they have their children to maintain. They have their mortgages to pay. They have courts to pay. Because everyone wants basic amenities of life, and therefore the cost of living is really, really pressuring our teachers. And as a union, we cannot sit back and allow the system to just meander. We have to make representation. That is why, in the first place, we were elected to look after the interests of these teachers. Yes, we're striking. We need better salary. Slippers on the ground, can't be afraid of them that are threats. All right, and then they get to read the rest. Somebody saying 10,000 a day, hairstyle for a teacher. Hairstyle gone up. Yes, teachers gotta look good because you're going into the classroom. You gotta look good. Somebody saying 40,000 tax free for the part-time workers for 10 days. Teachers work 10 days. And of course, your level of training differs. Let them know that this is not political. Well, we heard you say that, but continue to let the messages come through. And at the end of the day, we have to face what is before us. Someone said, "He who feels it knows it." Those who have to put their hands in their pocket and send their children to school. As I was asking a parent the other day, how much money do you give your child? This parent has 3 children. How much do you give your child on a daily basis? The person said $500 plus lunch. So if the child is not taking lunch, then maybe it's an additional $300 or $500. Now imagine a parent is having 3 children to send to school. That's $1,500 a day to just send those children to school. Then you have to think of preparation of meals for those kids, right? You have to think about the uniform. You have to think about feeding them at home. It's really burdensome on some people. And in schools, especially at the listing of school where I'm attached, a C-list school, we recognize that a lot of the children are living in impoverished homes, that they don't have the basic amenities. My school has gone so far that we prepare a meal each week. Teachers see this and they are compassionate. They take monies from their pocket or they bring from their homes and they say, "Look, sir, we are going to cook a meal each week for these children. At least we know that they have a solid meal." And this happens across many schools where children don't come to school regularly. It is because parents can't afford it. And you take a parent that has a minimum of 3 children and they're living in poverty. How do they send those children to school, right? If you have domestic problems and want to leave the man, you can't. But he's saying it very clearly. The 10 days is 40,000, and the monthly salary for teachers, starting salary, I believe, is about one. Somebody saying 104, I don't know how true that is. That is being taxed. That 104 is being taxed. So it comes down to about 90,000 as approximately over 90, maybe within the 90s. But just going to show that if I pick up 2 plastic bags, a couple of things that I just picked up, a couple of things, some beverages, some other amenities for the kitchen, and it's 2 plastic bags, $20,000. And this wasn't any big shopping, that was done just a few minutes ago. Somebody saying they're paying $70,000 rent in Georgetown, plus bills and children to send to school. And I don't know how you make that. Even if you are earning $200,000 on a monthly basis and you are paying $70,000 rent, I figure your light bill would be somewhere around 15,000. Let's say your phone bill amount that is 6,000. Your meal for 3 or 4 children would be about 80,000, 60 to 80,000. Buying the basic amenities, then you gotta talk about your meat kind in the market. So I don't know how you do it. You have to get a second job, but it's really tough. And I'm talking about someone who earns about 200,000 to live in that way. Um, Somebody saying they like the minister to make a switch just 1 month with their salaries, and that I'm sure the minister will read that, you know, putting ourselves in a teacher's place, then you get to realize how hard it is to live on the small amount of money. All right, yes, it is hard. I have 4 children to send to school, and I have to catch public transportation to get to work. This meager salary can't work. And I hear you, my sister. You are absolutely correct. This is the cry and plight of teachers. When we go on the ground on our in our branch meetings, teachers are always complaining about the meager salary. All right, they are complaining about the need for us to have a favorable salary increase that is negotiated by their members. I believe that is what the members want. And as an executive, we tried our best to go the other route to ensure that um, the part of the discussion, the part of talks would have been preeminent and the focus for us. Unfortunately, that has not borne much fruit in terms of the financial aspect for our members, the financial aspect of our members, and not just looking at some of our members, we're looking at all categories of teachers. We have to make representation for all categories of our teachers, right? And I know that it's pressuring, it's hard to make the sacrifice. And when your union calls you out on a strike, you know, it's very hard. And then, we have to contend with those who will say, we have forsaken the children and we are not paying attention to the children. Those who are going to, do that trump card, but who pays attention to us? Who pays attention to us, right? Someone said, I can't even date a teacher. His money can't stretch. Give teachers better salary. Well, maybe that's why we have so few men in the profession, because here's a young lady saying she wouldn't even date a teacher because he can bring in no money to the table. So maybe that's why we have a shortage. And again, I want to say that in the classrooms in some schools there is no male teacher in the whole school, and this may go for a number of schools in Guyana, and it is something that worries me. Where are the males? Where are the males in the profession? The males are saying that, look, just like that woman said, well, I would never date a man who is a teacher because he ain't bringing nothing much. And so men are now diverting to other professions. They are going into the construction field, they're going into the mining field, they're going into the farming field, because women are seeing it very clearly. We can't have anything happening because you're not bringing much to the table. Somebody saying, I think the same too, right? Then there's an issue of the 8,000 clothing allowance that has been there for many, many years. We're receiving that $8,000. We'd like to see those are all finances. And when we get this 8,000, we have to beg for it at the end of the year. You need that money at the beginning of the school year. You need that money at the beginning of the year. Even if they give the $8,000, you actually get it sometime in November, October, after prolonged playing. And this is not good enough. If there's something due to the teachers, why not give it early enough so that it can be utilized? This is another issue that we see. Everything is given at a time when someone feels it is convenient to them. When the teachers need it early enough. The teachers need their monies early. Income tax needs to be reduced. I think I read something on the budget that it will now be the threshold will now be 100,000. Teachers can't see it because we live in paycheck to paycheck. Market vendors are making my salary in 1 week. Imagine that. Yes, that's the reality. Much less the teachers who live in the interior and hinterland. I can recall going into Upper Mazaruni and the shock of my life, $600 for a bottle of water. $600 for a bottle of water this size. So how can a teacher survive paying $600 for a bottle of water this size, living in the hinterland? We pay about $140 here, but you're paying $600 there. Imagine chicken and beef and pork and vegetables and rice and the other things, the cost of living in those hinterland far-flung regions. Low salaries alone is just part of the problem. As long as there is increase, the unethical business people will raise prices. So yes, Sarkar, there needs to be a lid on a pricing. There needs to be more active system government-wise to ensure that people don't raise prices unfairly. And recently, when the teachers got an increase, when the teachers got the difference in terms of the announcement for the degree and the 6%, things went up 2 times. And so we have the unethical situation where there is no price control. There's no price control in the marketplace. Everyone does what he or she feels like in the marketplace. Who are the ones that are losing out? The ordinary man, like the teachers. Teachers need to start receiving their gratuity after some years, because many of them not living to see 55 years. Yes, I hear you. They're not living. A lot of teachers are dying very young, and we've seen that in their 40s, early 40s. Some of them are dying in their late 30s, and this is worrying because of the complication. All right. Schools have plumbing, electrical, and many other environmental issues which affect children and teachers. Yes, Jonathan, there are many issues like that. Um, Teachers can't even take their families on a vacation. You're right. Where are you getting the money to buy the ticket and to pay that airfare? Where are you getting the money to go and shop using another currency that is much higher than ours? It's about between 215 to $218 per US. So you have to then buy the exchange. The US would be the balanced currency. And you know that if you're surviving paycheck to paycheck, how do you deal with that? So my brothers and sisters, we hear you. The union understands your plight. And that is why we have made the call to support the industrial action. That's why we have made that call to support the industrial action. Because unless we take some drastic steps, we will continue to live on promises. We will continue to live on small salaries. We continue to face impositions at the end of each year. We continue to receive an allowance for clothing that we are unable to buy one outfit with. And while this is happening, prices of things are going up. And it's for these reasons and more that the union has made the call, having listened to you. The union heard your voices. And at the last General Council meeting held in December, the teachers' representatives who sat around the table wanted us, the officers, not to return to school at the opening in January until the matters were resolved. However, we thought that there was still time for us to hear something positive. We wrote the Chief Labor Officer, reminding him about the arbitration process. Didn't even have the courtesy to respond to our correspondence. And we have the evidence that he did not respond and acceded to the fact that he misplaced our letter. And when you have a chief labor officer that decides on his own, he decides on his own that he can be an arbitrator listening to one side. The union wrote that there has been a breakdown in talks. Apparently, they wrote to the chief labor officer. Apparently, the chief, and we asked for conciliation. So apparently, the chief labor officer may have consulted the Ministry of Education on the matter. And based on the response that the Ministry of Education gave, he took it upon himself to write us to say he doesn't see the need for conciliation. Now, his position was you're having two sides. One side saying there's a breakdown and another side saying everything is bright and rosy. His duty as the chief labor officer was to invite the ministry and invite the union to sit and have a talk. Let's hear from you, union. Why do you believe there's a breakdown? Let's hear from you, Ministry of Education. Why do you say everything is bright and rosy? He didn't do that. He decided that there's no need for any conciliation. And in our MOU, it says that after you give notice for conciliation, you give a 14-day window period, and then you write asking for arbitration. And that was the next step we took. We wrote in November last year asking for the process of go to arbitration. The chief labor officer never responded until he saw the letter notifying the Ministry of Labor that the union intends to take strike action from the 5th of February. He got into action. He got into action by saying he misplaced the letter and needed to respond to us. And his response was the usual rhetoric that he doesn't see the need for industrial action. Now, we have a CFOS guy. We got a guy who is the chief labor officer, and maybe his name should be changed to CFOS, because he is only seeing one thing, what he wants to see. And we are not going to tolerate that. So when it is said that the union is having an illegal strike, the evidence is there. We have gotten our legal advice to say the union has followed all the protocols. Hence, our action is not and cannot be termed illegal, because we have been writing for the intervention of the Ministry of Labor since October last year. So there's nobody that can come to say GTU is unfair. We have given 3+ years, and we have given over 4 months. We have given over 4 months for the Labor Ministry to call both sides to the table. and to say, let us talk. Let us bring both sides, because that is what, once you have a labor dispute, the task of the labor ministry is to see how these matters can be resolved in the most amicable way. Labor ought to be like an umpire. The chief labor officer ought to be like an umpire. The chief labor officer ought to be like an umpire. The labor minister ought to be like an umpire. But you can't take a partisan side. You see this and you see that without engaging us other than our letter that you receive. Now, how can that be fair? How can that be any process of democracy? It's best we don't have a labor ministry. Because all aggrieved trade unions or employees who are aggrieved should have some form of satisfaction coming from the labor ministry. If we have disgruntled employees with a complaint, then they should be free enough to go to the labor ministry and lodge a complaint about their employer. Are we saying that when you lodge this complaint, that someone will say, oh, the employer said everything is good, so there's no need to intervene? Now, this is what we're speaking about. GTU just didn't wake up in January. This matter has been pending for the longest while. And I believe we have to be fair to the teachers. As a union, we must be fair to the teachers. Our teachers deserve better. And while we are not going to doubt the professional interventions in the workplace, like it's being said, that teachers no longer have to buy things from their pocket, that doesn't mean that you're putting more money in teachers' pockets. Where is the money in the teachers' pocket? Where is the money? That money goes on janitorials, that money goes on office supplies, and that money goes on other amenities. 3 categories of things. And for each of those things, you have to be writing receipts to clear them. So in no way, teachers were getting more money through that grant. The grant just made it what it should have been in the long run. We've been complaining that all schools must have grants. It's in our multi-year agreement. Yes. But that doesn't put money in the teacher's pocket. That doesn't put money in the teacher's pocket. Every dime that the teachers received through the school grant was spent on enhancing their professional work, not on their personal life. They couldn't take that money to the supermarket and buy anything. They would have been called out. And we heard a few names of some schools where monies could not have been accounted for. They had to find the money and pay back. And then I attended several meetings where the teachers complained that if they traveled to Georgetown with that money, it did not cater for transportation. They had to find transportation outside of that money because they were not told that that money can be used for transportation. Somebody said the teachers were added as procurement officers. So I want to put that into perspective to say that the teachers' lives did not improve. Their professional workspace improved. Their professional workspace improved. The materials available for their work was enhanced because they were now able to buy what they need. But there wasn't any money that they gained personally. None. Absolutely none. I understand there might be a different arrangement this time, but I'm talking about what existed in the last school cash grant. We can't talk about what didn't come into place yet. And a lot of things that we see on that list hasn't been in place as yet. No teacher has gotten upgrade from the 6 years of thing that is now being proposed. No second deputy has been paid, or fourth SM has been paid yet. That is being proposed. So the notion that these things are in place is not quite accurate. They are now being proposed. How long will it take to, to come into effect? How long will it take to come into effect? And that's the question. Teachers need the intervention now. So we're saying if the government is willing to speak about salary increases and to honor the collective bargaining process, we are ready. We are ready to have meaningful talks, following the right process, and inking an agreement that will be beneficial to our members. Guidance for tomorrow, we will be out in different places. We will not be at work. And for those of you who are supporting the call, that is what we like to say. We're not forcing any teacher. No teacher is being threatened. And I'm saying it as the president of the teachers union. There were reports that some people were threatened and pressured. We are not doing that. We are asking you to support a just cause. We are asking you to help us force the hand of the powers that be to address the needs, the holistic needs of teachers, the holistic needs of the professionals that are there implementing the curriculum and supervising the education process. We could have the best schools, we could have the best facilities, we could have the best classroom amenities, but if we don't have happy teachers, we're wasting time. And maybe that's why a lot of teachers, they go to work late because they got to do so many things before they get out. They got to beg for transportation to get to work. We don't know because some people don't speak on these things, but they may be affected in several ways. Maybe that's why some teachers are unable to have a very healthy attendance record. Maybe that's why a lot of teachers can't teach after certain hours because they are hungry. We don't know what the challenges teachers encounter because many of them don't speak. Many of them don't say. I'm just thinking out loud. What may be responsible for some of the things we see amongst our teachers? Point is that we got to do better for the Guyanese teachers. We have to do better for the Guyanese teachers. We have to do better for the Guyanese teachers. And our teachers are important. The teachers of Guyana are important. Teachers of this union are important. And I saw several things being peddled in social media. I want us to know that this is our bread and butter issue. This is not the bread and butter issue of an NDC chairman. The NDC chairman getting their own benefits. This is your issue. This is not the benefit of a counselor. This is not the benefit of a private store owner. This is your bread and butter issue. And those of us who feel it, we are the ones who will know it. We are the ones who understand what it is, the plight that we face in life. So, my dear brothers and sisters, I'm here tonight because I know that you have called us to take these actions. I know that you have demanded through your representatives at the General Council and at the branch level that you want your union to take action. And we have heeded to your call to take a decisive position. The time is now. The time is now. If you are on board, you are on board. We'd like to have everybody on board. But if we don't have everybody on board, we ask you to encourage your colleagues to stand with us. We ask you to encourage your colleagues to stand with us. We need to be together. A lot of things are misinterpreted, but we are teachers. Sorry, so Bill, a lot of things are misinterpreted. If we as educators can't cipher for ourselves what is truth and what is not true, we are in a very bad place as a nation. How do we teach the children? How do we teach the children? We can't think for ourselves. Why are we misinterpreting messages? We are in the system. We are in the system, and we know what is happening. We know what propaganda is being peddled right now. We know many people are being paid to read from a script. We see them reading from their computers. A message. We saw that there was a list of questions that they must respond to. And I'm going to get here now. There was a list of questions, maybe 5 questions that they needed to respond to. And they mustn't read the question, they must just talk about the answers. We know those things. We know that that was happening in the background. The message was out there to get people to make videos, to say that they are not going to be on strike, and to say that they have benefited from the cash grant and whatever else. But those teachers know to themselves that they are lying. They are giving false information to the general population. Those teachers know to themselves that they are struggling to make ends meet. One teacher went so far to say that the salary has increased by 19%. I don't know what mathematics he's doing, but his salary increased by 19%. My own increased by 6.5%. His own increased by 19%. I don't know which mathematics school individual attended, but it's what it is. People are entitled to carry their own narratives, to give their own message. People are entitled to do what they feel is best for them. And we can't stop them. If someone believes that they should make a video and respond to some dictatorial messages or questions that they're given and to answer in a particular way, if we as educators subject ourselves to that, we are in a bad place. Because you know what? The nation is depending on us to put out thinkers, independent thinkers. The nation is depending on us to put people out there who can think for themselves. Think about if we have teachers in the classroom who can't think for themselves, but allow others to think for them. Our generation will be pitied. Our generation will be pitied. Departments are now asking for vacancy lists. Why are these things out? Now they're asking for vacancy lists according to this circular. You see, who are we fooling? Who are we fooling? These things they say they are happening. Why are they asking for the list now? Why? Teachers, let's think. Let us think. And this is not a personal grouse against anyone. This is a situation that affects educators. And as an educator, we must think for ourselves. We can't subscribe to the lies. We have to let the truth. If the truth is that GPU is telling lies, so let it be called out. If the truth is that ministry is telling lies, so let it be called out. You and I know. We are in the system. We understand the struggle. We know when something is being said, right? When something is being said. When you have grown people reading from a script to answer 4 questions, that if you're passionate about it, I am talking to you here, and I'm not reading from any script. I don't have any script with me. Because what I'm talking about, I'm passionate about it. It comes from inside. It comes from deep inside. So I am not speaking about what somebody gave me to read or so. I'm speaking from what is coming from inside. And as your president, I ask you to do your introspection. You know what you have been faced with. You know what you face every day in the marketplace. You know whether you need an increase in salary, and you know the denial of collective bargaining is robbing you of an opportunity to have a better salary. I'll close with this. The last action taken by the teachers union resulted in a lump sum payout for debunching to kickstart the debunching process. It resulted in teachers receiving a difference of percentage for each year that was covered, and many teachers benefited economically. Their lives were better. And I'm saying that if we hold and we stand strong and together, we can move the hand of those who hold the treasury of this country. Yes, Ms. Jack, we can only deal with teachers' matter. I am not permitted to speak about public servants. There's a union that represents the public servants, the Public Service Union. So I can only speak for my teachers that have elected me to represent them. And hopefully, once the teachers are able to make a breakthrough through the union, then all other public servants may benefit. But we have to stand together. We have to stand together. The call is everywhere to stand up. The call is everywhere to make a difference. The call is everywhere to make a difference in what we do. And so let me thank you for joining the live. I said I'll go for an hour or so. And I hope that whether it is slippers on the ground or boots on the ground, that we come out. When the union calls you, we start tomorrow at 9 a.m. and your branch representatives will tell you about the various locations. We will have an approach. We will not be fetching a crowd, but teachers will congregate in various places, and your branch representatives have already been advised how the process will be. Let's stand in solidarity. The Guyana Teachers Union stands for you, and we need to stand together. Solidarity forever. Long live the Guyana Teachers Union. Long live teachers of this wonderful country, Guyana. Looking forward for your support, and God bless you. Have a fantastic night. We take all your comments, and we're going to archive these comments, and I know many of them have already been archived. And you will be out there supporting your branches and supporting the cause of the call.
We are a peaceful people, struggling we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. No, we ain't giving up no mountain, and we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one for us, not a blade of grass. This land is our land now, we're gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow, but never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we are moving from here, make no mistake. No, we ain't giving up no mountain, We ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belong to we. Not one blue saki, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupanuni and the Essex Cribbo, daytime or night. Though we criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we mean to keep it. We have that right. No, we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belong to we. Not one blue saki, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass, not one golden apple, not one jamon, not a drop of water. We are a peaceful people, struggling we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. No, we ain't giving up no mountain, and we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belong to we. Not one blue saki, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. This land is our land now, we're gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow, but never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we are moving from here, make no mistake. No, we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belong to we. Not one blue saki, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupanuni and the Essex Cribbo, daytime or night. Though we criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we mean to keep it. We have that right. No, we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belong to we. Not one blue saki, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass, not one golden apple, not one jamon, not. We are a peaceful people, struggling we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. No, we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belong to we. Not one blue saki, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. This land is our land now, we're gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow, but never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we are moving from here. Make no mistake. No, we ain't giving up no mountain. No, we ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belong to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one for us, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupanuni and the Essex Cribbo, daytime or night. Though we criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we mean to keep it. We have that right. No, we ain't giving up no mountain. No, we ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belong to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one for us, not a blade of grass, not one golden apple, not one jamon, not a drop of water from the farmer room. We are a peaceful people, struggling we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over